Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om, I bow to the Lord Vasudeva. Joy to you, friends. I'm going to read from the Gita, the second chapter, stanza 13, a very important chapter. As the ego keeps the thread of self-awareness unbroken through infancy, childhood, youth, and old age, so the embodied soul, which gave consciousness to the ego, maintains its awareness uninterruptedly, not only through the stages of earth life, but through the appearance of successive bodies. O son of Kunti, sensations such as heat and cold, pleasure and pain, are generated through the senses in their contact with the world. They are ideas only, transitory, each with its beginning and end. O descendant of Bharata, bear with them patiently. The way of wisdom is to be non-identified with anything outside the self. You come into this body, you seem like a cute little child. One time Yogananda was holding a child that somebody gave him, and he nearly dropped it because he saw that the person behind that little baby was a murderer. And we come in, you think of this sweet, innocent little baby. They're not so innocent as they look. They carry all the cynicism, all the pride, all the anger, all the qualities of human beings, good as well as bad. I don't mean only to mention the bad, but they're there. I remember my brother he was very unhappy in his early years, in his first 3 years. He would hardly speak. And I think he'd had a sort of a sad time in his last life. And then he became very outspoken and loving and everything. But we show in the first 6 years of our lives a lot of what we may have been in our last life. If a person was tending to be dour, he was probably dour in that life. What his tastes were, if you want to know, because it helps you to know what your talents naturally are, so that you can develop those are strengths you, like Mozart, when he was a young child, already was writing symphonies. He was obviously a composer in other lives that had honed this talent to the point where he could be such a supreme composer as he was in that life. But in your early years, you manifest the qualities. It takes a while before the influences of your new environment will begin to affect who you really are in your soul, let us say, or in your deeper ego. And so if you want to know what you should do in this life, and you're young and wanting to set out, think of what your tastes were. Think of what your inclinations were. My brother's tendency to overcome moodiness by bluster did not lead him to happiness. He became alcoholic. And well, there are many things, and I don't want to talk about him or against him, because he was actually a very wonderful man too. And I had great regard for him. But it was too bad that those qualities, he didn't fight against them. Or he fought, but in the wrong way, by bluster. When you feel those tendencies, then it is good to try to think, what should I do to overcome the tendency? How do you overcome moodiness, the blues? Well, one thing is just to realize that, my guru said that moodiness is the result of feeling, of having overindulged in sense pleasures in the past. And if you want to overcome them, then remember what I said, that there is this constant flux between right and left, pleasure, pain, plus, minus, etc., darkness and light, and so on. And what we need to do is get right in between these two. So whatever experiences we have in this world, if you're moody, it's because you've had perhaps overindulgence in sense pleasures in the past. Don't give in to the mood, because then it'll bring the swinging back toward those pleasures again. Withdraw. Watch yourself. A very good technique in your life is to watch all your qualities and to say, is this something that will help me? Be introspective. Sort of stand aside as if watching your own self acting the role of being you. And you will gradually see that, no, that's not the way I want to go. I don't want to be moody. I don't want to overcome moodiness by its opposite, by bluster, because that too will bring me back to moodiness again. So let me just become even-minded. This is a very good practice in everything that happens to you. When you see people jumping up and down gleefully in television ads, know that that's exactly the wrong way to go. When you have something that's good, then look at it and see, is this what you want? I remember I watched a movie on television years ago of the Song of Bernadette. It's about a saint in France, Saint Bernadette. And it's a wonderful movie. I do recommend it to everybody. But at a certain point, the Virgin Mary is appearing there, shimmering on a rock at Massabielle. And all of a sudden, cut, Coca-Cola. What a ridiculous thing that the ads in television make us jump up and down. Learn to become calm. I remember, I don't watch television, but I was in a barber shop a few years ago where they were playing the television, and every 2 seconds that scene changed. People's minds are so restless. Learn to stand back a little bit. Watch the scene. Don't get too engrossed in it. Don't get caught up by it. And you will find that within that calm self-centeredness in yourself, that you won't feel grief, you won't feel joy. Will you then feel apathy? No, you will not. Because then you will begin to find that all your happiness is something inside. You are the source of any joy that you can ever feel. And when you refuse to get caught outwardly and become centered within, yes, boredom is one possibility, but that's because you're taking it in the wrong way. If you take it upward and don't just sort of let it scatter in between, if you may turn your energy upward, you will find that in that centeredness in yourself, there's a great deal of happiness, a great deal of bliss. Nothing can touch you if you inwardly love God. And you will find that even when people are raging around you and getting angry and trying to tempt you with this thing and that thing, if you keep yourself self-centered in your inner being, nothing can touch you. So Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna that don't let these things catch you, but be centered in yourself. Remember that there is no death, there is no life. It's all just a show. We come into this universe, we play in it for a while, but sooner or later we discover it's all just a big play of God. St. Augustine, when this was many hundreds of years ago, he was developing a certain pride in his own intelligence and learning. And he saw a little boy when he was walking out by the sea, and the boy was trying to empty the sea with a bucket. And Augustine said, isn't it foolish to try to empty that whole sea with the bucket? And he was pouring it back on the sand where it would go back to the sea. And the little boy looked at him and he said, isn't it just as foolish to think that you can empty the whole ocean of wisdom with your little brain? And suddenly the boy disappeared. Joy to you, friends.